The sun was a giant orange lollipop in the sky, dripping heat onto the little town of Sunnyville. Lily, a bright-eyed girl with pigtails the color of sunshine, skipped down the sidewalk, her little brother, Tom, trailing behind her. "Hurry, Tom," she called, "Mr. Jolly's ice cream cart will be gone if we don't get there soon." Tom, who was more interested in chasing butterflies than ice cream, reluctantly picked up his pace. Their parents, Mr. and Mrs. Peterson, strolled behind them, enjoying the leisurely pace of a summer afternoon. It was the kind of day where everything felt possible, where the air buzzed with the promise of adventure and sweet treats. Lily had been dreaming of ice cream all day. She had imagined the cool, creamy sweetness melting on her tongue, a perfect escape from the sweltering heat. She knew exactly what she wanted, a scoop of bubblegum blue, her absolute favorite, from Mr. Jolly's famous ice cream cart. Mr. Jolly was a Sunnyville institution, known for his cheerful smile, silly jokes, and, most importantly, his delicious ice cream. As they rounded the corner, Lily's eyes lit up. There it was. Mr. Jolly's colorful cart, adorned with balloons and twinkling lights, stood proudly at the edge of the park. A small crowd of children eagerly lined up, their faces smeared with remnants of previous ice cream adventures. The sound of Mr. Jolly's booming laughter filled the air, adding to the festive atmosphere. "We're here. We're here." Lily squealed, grabbing Tom's hand and pulling him towards the line. The anticipation was almost unbearable. She could practically taste the sweet, sugary goodness already. Today was going to be a perfect ice cream day, or so she thought. Little did she know, this ice cream treat would turn out to be far more exciting than she could ever have imagined, an adventure involving secrets, hidden treasures, and a very surprising discovery. The line to Mr. Jolly's cart seemed to stretch on forever, but Lily didn't mind. Each giggle from the children ahead, each whiff of sugary sweetness, only heightened her anticipation. Tom, however, was growing restless. He tugged on Lily's shirt. "I want to see the butterflies," he whined, pointing towards a patch of colorful wildflowers. "Just a little longer, Tom," Lily pleaded, "then we can look for butterflies, I promise." Finally, it was their turn. Mr. Jolly, a large man with a booming voice and a twinkle in his eye, greeted them with a hearty, "Well, hello there, sunshine. And what can I get for you today?" Lily beamed. "I want a scoop of bubblegum blue, please. In a cone." Tom, still a bit grumpy, mumbled, "Chocolate." Mr. Jolly chuckled. "Chocolate for the little man and bubblegum blue for the bright spark. Coming right up." He expertly scooped a generous swirl of blue ice cream onto a crispy cone and handed it to Lily with a wink. Then, he scooped a mound of chocolate ice cream into a smaller cone for Tom. "Here you go, kids. Enjoy," Mr. Jolly said, handing them their treats. Lily clutched her cone tightly, her eyes sparkling with delight. The bubblegum blue ice cream looked even more enticing up close. It was a vibrant, almost electric blue, with tiny flecks of candy sprinkled throughout. She couldn't wait to take her first bite. Tom, already halfway through his chocolate cone, seemed much happier now. He was leaving a brown smear across his face. Lily's parents paid Mr. Jolly, thanking him for the delicious ice cream. They found a shady spot under a large oak tree and settled down to watch the children enjoy their treats. Lily took a deep breath, savoring the sweet aroma of the bubblegum blue ice cream. It smelled exactly like happiness. She closed her eyes for a moment, preparing for the perfect first bite. This was going to be the best ice cream ever. Lily opened her eyes, took a deep breath, and bit into the ice cream. Instead of the soft, sweet sensation she expected, she felt a hard thunk against her teeth. "Ouch!" she cried, pulling the cone away from her mouth. Tom, mid-lick of his chocolate ice cream, looked up, his eyes wide with concern. "What's wrong, Lily?" Lily poked around in the ice cream with her tongue, trying to dislodge whatever had caused the pain. Carefully, she reached into her mouth and pulled out something. It wasn't a piece of candy. It wasn't a stray chunk of ice. It was a rock. No, it was too sparkly to be a rock. It was small, about the size of a pea, and perfectly clear. Light danced within it, creating tiny rainbows that shimmered in the sunlight. It was hard and smooth, and definitely not something that belonged in ice cream. Lily stared at it, her brow furrowed in confusion. "What is this?" she wondered aloud. Her parents, hearing the commotion, came over to investigate. "What's the matter, sweetie?" Mrs. Peterson asked, kneeling beside Lily. Lily held out her hand, showing her mother the strange object. "I found this in my ice cream. It hurt my tooth." Mrs. Peterson examined the object closely. It was definitely unusual. "That's odd," she said, exchanging a puzzled glance with Mr. Peterson. "It looks like a gem." Mr. Peterson took a closer look. He rubbed the object between his fingers. "It's probably just a fake," he said, trying to reassure Lily. "Sometimes they put little toys in ice cream. But this is a bit strange." Lily wasn't so sure. It felt too real, too sparkly, to be just a toy. She looked at the gem again, turning it over in her hand. It was a mystery, a tiny, glittering mystery hidden inside her bubblegum blue ice cream. And she was determined to solve it. The perfect ice cream day had suddenly become a perfect mystery day. "A fake gem?" Lily questioned, tilting her head. "But it feels so real, Dad." She held it up to the light again, mesmerized by the way it caught the sun. "Can we go ask Mrs. Davis? She knows all about sparkly things." Mrs. Davis owned the local jewelry store, Davis and Daughters, and was known throughout Sunnyvale for her expertise and her kind heart. She often let Lily and Tom peek at the beautiful necklaces and rings in her display cases, telling them stories about the history of each piece. Mr. Peterson hesitated. "Honey, it's probably nothing. We don't want to bother Mrs. Davis over a silly toy." "Please, Dad." Lily pleaded, giving him her best puppy dog eyes. "It'll only take a minute, and I really want to know what it is." Mrs. Peterson smiled. "I think it's a good idea. It's better to be safe than sorry, and it would be a fun little adventure." Mr. Peterson sighed, relenting. All right. We'll go see Mrs. Davis. But if she says it's just a piece of plastic, no more questions, okay?" Lily squealed with delight and carefully placed the gem in her pocket. Tom, forgetting all about butterflies, perked up at the mention of a trip to Mrs. Davis's store. He loved looking at the shiny things, too. They finished their ice cream quickly, eager to get to the jewelry store. Even Mr. Peterson was a little curious about the mysterious gem. As they walked towards Main Street, Lily couldn't help but wonder how a real gem, or even a convincing fake, could have ended up in her ice cream. Was it a mistake? Was it a prank? Or was it something more sinister? The thought sent a shiver down her spine, but also filled her with a sense of excitement. This was definitely going to be an interesting afternoon. The mystery of the bubblegum blue ice cream gem was just beginning. Davis and Daughters was a haven of sparkle and shine. Sunlight streamed through the large front windows, illuminating rows of glittering necklaces, rings, and bracelets. The air smelled faintly of polishing cream and old money. Mrs. Davis, a kind woman with silver hair pulled back in a neat bun and twinkling spectacles perched on her nose, stood behind the counter, carefully examining a watch through a jeweler's loupe. The bell above the door jingled as Lily and her family entered. Mrs. Davis looked up, a warm smile spreading across her face. "Well, hello there, Petersons. What brings you to my humble abode today?" Lily, unable to contain her excitement, rushed forward. "Mrs. Davis, I found something in my ice cream." Mrs. Davis chuckled. "Oh. What did you find? A cherry? A chocolate chip?" Lily shook her head and carefully pulled the gem from her pocket, placing it gently on the velvet-covered counter. "No. This. Mrs. Davis leaned closer, her eyes widening behind her spectacles. She picked up the gem, holding it up to the light. She turned it over and over, examining it from every angle. The smile slowly faded from her face, replaced by an expression of intense concentration. "Where did you say you found this, Lily?" she asked, her voice suddenly serious. "In my ice cream," Lily repeated. "From Mr. Jolly's cart." Mrs. Davis carefully placed the gem under the loop, her brow furrowed. She adjusted the focus, peering intently at the tiny facets. A long moment passed in silence. Tom, bored, began to fidget, but Lily stood perfectly still, her eyes fixed on Mrs. Davis's face. Finally, Mrs. Davis looked up, her expression a mixture of surprise and disbelief. "Well, my dear," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "I believe you have found something quite extraordinary indeed." Mr. and Mrs. Peterson exchanged nervous glances. "Extraordinary? What do you mean, Mrs. Davis?" Mr. Peterson asked, his voice laced with disbelief. "Is it real?" Mrs. Davis nodded slowly, her eyes still wide with wonder. "Yes, Mr. Peterson. I believe it is. It appears to be a diamond. A rather fine one, at that." Lily gasped. A real diamond? In her ice cream? It seemed impossible. Tom, who had been drawing pictures on the foggy glass of the display case, stopped and stared, his mouth agape. "A diamond?" Mrs. Peterson echoed, her voice barely audible. "But, how?" Mrs. Davis shook her head. "I have no idea how it ended up in your daughter's ice cream. But I can assure you, this is no ordinary trinket. It's quite valuable." She carefully placed the diamond on a small scale. "Based on its size and clarity, I'd estimate its worth to be, well, let's just say it's worth more than Mr. Jolly's entire ice cream cart." A stunned silence filled the store. Lily couldn't believe what she was hearing. A diamond. She, Lily Peterson, had found a real diamond. It was like something out of a fairy tale. Mrs. Davis, noticing the shock on their faces, cleared her throat. "Now, I think it's important to consider how this diamond came to be in your possession. Did Mr. Jolly say anything unusual? Has he been acting strangely lately?" Mr. Peterson frowned, trying to recall anything out of the ordinary. "No, not really. He was his usual cheerful self. Always cracking jokes, always smiling. He did seem a little hurried," Mrs. Peterson added thoughtfully. "Like he was trying to get rid of us quickly." Mrs. Davis nodded slowly. "This is all very curious. I think I should make a phone call." She paused, looking directly at Mr. and Mrs. Peterson. "I have a friend who might be interested in hearing about this. Someone who might be able to help us get to the bottom of this mystery." "A friend?" Lily asked, her eyes wide with curiosity. "Who is it, Mrs. Davis?" Mrs. Davis smiled mysteriously. "Someone who's very good at solving puzzles, just like you, Lily. His name is Detective Riley." She reached for the phone behind the counter. "He's a dear friend of the family, and I trust him implicitly. I think he'll know what to do." As Mrs. Davis dialed the number, Lily couldn't help but feel a thrill of excitement. A real detective. This was turning into a much bigger adventure than she could have ever imagined. She pictured a tall, serious man with a trench coat and a magnifying glass, just like in the movies. Mrs. Davis spoke quietly into the phone, explaining the situation to Detective Riley. She described the diamond, Lily's discovery, and Mr. Jolly's ice cream cart. She listened intently, nodding occasionally. "Yes, that's right, bubblegum blue, a diamond, I assure you, yes, I'll keep it safe, thank you, Riley. We'll wait to hear from you." Mrs. Davis hung up the phone and turned back to the Petersons. "Detective Riley is on his way. He wants to see the diamond for himself and ask you a few questions." Mr. Peterson sighed. "A detective? This is getting out of hand. I just wanted to buy my daughter an ice cream cone. But Dad, Lily protested, this is so exciting. We're helping solve a mystery. Mrs. Peterson squeezed her husband's hand. Let's just see what Detective Riley has to say, dear. It's better to be cautious. They settled in to wait for the detective, the atmosphere in the jewelry store thick with anticipation. Lily couldn't stop thinking about Mr. Jolly. Could he really be involved in something shady? He always seemed so happy and friendly. But then again, she thought, maybe that was just an act. Maybe Mr. Jolly had a secret life, a life filled with diamonds and mysteries and detectives. The thought made her heart pound with a mixture of fear and excitement. This was definitely the most interesting thing that had ever happened in Sunnyvale. A few minutes later, the bell above the door jingled again, announcing Detective Riley's arrival. He wasn't quite what Lily had imagined. He wasn't wearing a trench coat, and he didn't have a magnifying glass. Instead, he was a young man with kind eyes, a friendly smile, and a slightly rumpled suit. He looked more like a friendly neighbor than a hardened detective. Mrs. Davis, he said, his voice warm and reassuring, thanks for calling. What's all this about a diamond in an ice cream cone? Mrs. Davis gestured towards the Petersons. This is the Peterson family, Riley. Lily found something rather unexpected in her ice cream today. Detective Riley shook hands with Mr. and Mrs. Peterson and knelt down to Lily's level. So, you're the lucky one who found the treasure, huh? Tell me everything, Lily. Start from the beginning. Lily, eager to impress the detective, launched into a detailed account of their trip to Mr. Jolly's ice cream cart, the bubblegum blue ice cream, and the moment she bit into the hard object. She even demonstrated how she had pulled the gem from her mouth. Detective Riley listened patiently, nodding occasionally and asking clarifying questions. He examined the diamond closely, turning it over in his fingers and peering at it through Mrs. Davis's loupe. Interesting, he murmured, his brow furrowed in concentration. Very interesting indeed. He looked at Mr. and Mrs. Peterson. Has Mr. Jolly been acting strangely lately? Anything out of the ordinary? Mr. Peterson shook his head. Not that I've noticed. He's always been a friendly, reliable guy. But he did seem a bit rushed today, Mrs. Peterson added. Like he was in a hurry to get us out of there. Detective Riley nodded thoughtfully. I think it's time I paid Mr. Jolly a visit. I want to see his ice cream cart, ask him a few questions. See if anything sticks out. He smiled reassuringly at Lily. Don't worry, Lily. We'll get to the bottom of this. I promise you that. He turned to Mrs. Davis. Thanks for the heads up, Martha. I appreciate it. Detective Riley left the jewelry store, leaving the Petersons and Mrs. Davis in a state of nervous anticipation. The game was afoot. Detective Riley strolled casually towards the park, where Mr. Jolly's ice cream cart was still parked, surrounded by a gaggle of happy children. He wanted to observe Mr. Jolly without raising any suspicion. He bought a popsicle from a nearby vendor and leaned against a tree, pretending to enjoy the sweet treat while keeping a close eye on Mr. Jolly. He noticed that Mr. Jolly was, as always, cheerful and engaging, entertaining the children with silly jokes and handing out ice cream with a smile. But Detective Riley also noticed something else. Mr. Jolly seemed unusually nervous. He kept glancing around, as if he were expecting someone or something. He also made frequent trips to the back of the cart, where the freezer was located, staying longer than necessary, fiddling with the lock. Detective Riley watched as Mr. Jolly served a man in a dark suit. The man didn't order any ice cream. Instead, he spoke to Mr. Jolly in hushed tones, their conversation punctuated by furtive glances. Mr. Jolly handed the man a small, wrapped package, and the man quickly slipped it into his pocket and disappeared into the crowd. Detective Riley's suspicions grew. This was more than just a diamond in an ice cream cone. This was something bigger, something more sinister. He decided to follow the man in the dark suit. He discreetly trailed the man through the park, down Main Street, and into a dark alleyway. The man met with another individual, and they exchanged words. Detective Riley, hiding behind a dumpster, strained to hear their conversation. "Did you get it?" one of the men asked. "Yeah," the other replied. Jolly said it was a little more complicated than usual today. "Some kid found one." "Blast it all," the first man exclaimed. This could ruin everything. Detective Riley had heard enough. He stepped out from behind the dumpster, his badge glinting in the dim light. "Police. Don't move." The two men froze, their eyes wide with panic. The game was truly afoot. It was clear Mr. Jolly's ice cream wasn't the only thing he was selling. Detective Riley had stumbled onto something big, and he was determined to uncover the truth. The alleyway confrontation marked a turning point. While Detective Riley apprehended the two men, a larger picture began to emerge, one that stretched beyond Sunnyville's innocent facade. Flashback. 6 months earlier, in a dimly lit back room of a rundown warehouse on the outskirts of the city, Mr. Jolly, or rather, the man known to a select few as Jolly, nervously wiped sweat from his brow. He was facing Big Ice, a notorious crime boss known for his icy demeanor and his penchant for dealing in stolen diamonds. Big Ice's real name was Irvin Coldwater, but no one dared call him that to his face. "Jolly," Big Ice said, his voice as cold as his name, "you understand the arrangement?" Jolly nodded, his heart pounding in his chest. "Yes, sir. I use my ice cream business as a front. I hide the diamonds inside the frozen goods and transport them across city lines." "And you haven't attracted any unwanted attention?" Big Ice asked, his eyes narrowing. "No, sir," Jolly stammered. "Everyone loves Mr. Jolly. They trust me. No one would suspect a thing." "Good," Big Ice said, a cruel smile spreading across his face. "Trust is a valuable commodity. Just remember, Jolly, your continued good health depends on your discretion. One slip up, and you'll be sleeping with the fishes, or rather, frozen with the ice cream." Jolly gulped, understanding the threat all too well. He had gotten into this mess because he needed money, and Big Ice had offered him a deal he couldn't refuse. Now, he was trapped, a pawn in Big Ice's dangerous game. He had to keep up the charade, keep smiling, keep selling ice cream, and keep smuggling diamonds. He had become Mr. Jolly, the friendly ice cream man with a dark secret. And now, that secret was about to be exposed, all because of a little girl and a scoop of bubblegum blue ice cream. The flashback ended abruptly, returning to Detective Riley in the alleyway. The weight of the situation settled heavily on his shoulders. This was bigger than he thought. Back at the jewelry store, Lily was feeling restless. She wanted to help Detective Riley solve the mystery, but she didn't know how. She paced back and forth, her mind racing, trying to remember everything she had seen and heard at Mr. Jolly's ice cream cart. "Maybe I can draw a picture," she said suddenly, grabbing a piece of paper and some crayons from Mrs. Davis's desk. "Maybe if I draw what I remember, it will help Detective Riley." She started with a picture of Mr. Jolly, carefully coloring his bright red cheeks and his big, friendly smile. Then, she drew the ice cream cart, with its colorful balloons and twinkling lights. She included all the different flavors of ice cream, even though she only remembered a few. As she drew, she started to focus on the details. She remembered how Mr. Jolly kept going to the back of the cart, to the freezer. He seemed to be spending a lot of time there, more than necessary to get the ice cream. She drew Mr. Jolly opening the freezer door, his face obscured by the shadows inside. Then, she remembered something else. When she was waiting in line, she had heard Mr. Jolly talking to a man. She couldn't hear what they were saying, but she remembered that Mr. Jolly had said something strange. "The weather is going to be chilly tonight," Mr. Jolly had said. The man had replied, "Make sure the packages are well insulated." Lily hadn't understood what they were talking about at the time, but now, it seemed like a coded message. She drew speech bubbles above Mr. Jolly and the man, writing down the words she remembered. She finished her drawing and proudly showed it to her parents and Mrs. Davis. "Do you think this will help?" she asked, her eyes shining with hope. Mrs. Davis smiled. "I think it's wonderful, Lily. Every little bit helps. You're a real detective in the making." Mr. Peterson, though still skeptical, couldn't help but be impressed by Lily's dedication. "It's a very good drawing, sweetie. I'm sure Detective Riley will appreciate it." Lily carefully folded her drawing and put it in her pocket. She couldn't wait to show it to Detective Riley. She was determined to do her part to solve the mystery of the bubblegum blue ice cream and the diamond. Even if it meant facing the possibility that Mr. Jolly, the friendly ice cream man, was not who he seemed to be. Meanwhile, Detective Riley was questioning the two men he had apprehended in the alleyway. They were reluctant to talk at first, but after a little persuasion, they started to spill the beans. They confessed that they were working for Big Ice and that Mr. Jolly was their contact, using his ice cream business to transport stolen diamonds. "He hides them in the ice cream containers," one of the men said. "We pick them up and deliver them to Big Ice." "But how does he get the diamonds in the ice cream?" Detective Riley asked. The men shrugged. "We don't know. He's got some kind of trick. All we know is that he's been doing it for months, and no one has ever suspected a thing, until now." Detective Riley knew he had to act fast. He had enough evidence to arrest Mr. Jolly, but he needed to find the diamonds, to prove that Mr. Jolly was involved in the smuggling operation. He raced back to the park, hoping to catch Mr. Jolly before he could escape or destroy the evidence. When he arrived at the park, Mr. Jolly's ice cream cart was gone. A wave of panic washed over Detective Riley. Had he been too late? Had Mr. Jolly figured out that he was being watched and made a run for it? Just then, he spotted a familiar figure running towards him, waving a piece of paper. It was Lily. "Detective Riley. Detective Riley," she called, out of breath. "I have something to show you. It might help." Detective Riley knelt down to Lily's level. "What is it, Lily?" Lily handed him her drawing. "I drew this picture of Mr. Jolly's ice cream cart. I remembered something important." Detective Riley examined the drawing. It was a simple drawing, but it was filled with details. He noticed the frequent trips to the freezer, the coded message. And then, he saw it. In the corner of the freezer, almost hidden from view, Lily had drawn a small, almost invisible compartment. It was barely noticeable, but it was there. Detective Riley's eyes widened. "Lily," he said, his voice filled with excitement, "you're a genius. This is exactly what we need. That tiny compartment could be where Mr. Jolly was hiding the diamonds." Lily's drawing had given him the crucial clue he needed to crack the case. "We need to find Mr. Jolly," Detective Riley said, his voice urgent. "He must have taken the cart somewhere. Do you know where he lives, Lily?" Lily nodded. "He lives in a small apartment above the bakery on Elm Street. He always parks the cart behind the building." "Okay, let's go," Detective Riley said, grabbing Lily's hand. "You're coming with me. You're my official junior detective." They raced towards Elm Street, their hearts pounding with anticipation. When they arrived at the bakery, they spotted Mr. Jolly's ice cream cart parked behind the building, just as Lily had said. Mr. Jolly was nowhere to be seen. Detective Riley cautiously approached the cart, his hand on his holster. He peered inside, examining the ice cream containers, the freezer, everything. He didn't see anything out of the ordinary. Then, he remembered Lily's drawing. He knelt down and examined the freezer more closely, focusing on the corner where Lily had drawn the small compartment. He ran his fingers along the surface, feeling for any irregularities. At first, he felt nothing. But then, his fingers brushed against something. A small, almost imperceptible seam. He pressed on it, and a small panel popped open, revealing a hidden compartment. Inside the compartment, nestled among the ice cream containers, were several small, wrapped packages. Detective Riley carefully opened one of the packages. Inside, nestled in cotton wool, was a sparkling diamond. Bingo! Detective Riley exclaimed. We found them. Lily, you did it. You cracked the case. Just then, they heard a noise behind them. They turned around and saw Mr. Jolly standing in the doorway of the bakery, his face pale with fear. He was holding a large bag, presumably filled with the day's profits. It's over, Jolly, Detective Riley said, his voice firm. You're under arrest. Mr. Jolly looked at Lily, his eyes filled with a mixture of anger and despair. The game was up. His secret life was over. And it was all because of a little girl and a scoop of bubblegum blue ice cream. Mr. Jolly hung his head in shame as Detective Riley read him his rights. He didn't resist arrest, knowing that the game was up. He knew he had made a terrible mistake, getting involved with Big Ice and his criminal enterprise. I'm sorry, he mumbled, his voice barely audible. I didn't want to hurt anyone. I just needed the money. Detective Riley sighed. That's what they all say, Jolly. But you did hurt people. You betrayed the trust of the community, and you put innocent children at risk. As Mr. Jolly was being led away in handcuffs, Lily couldn't help but feel a little sorry for him. He had always been so nice to her and Tom. But she also knew that what he had done was wrong, and that he had to pay the price for his actions. Detective Riley secured the ice cream cart and the diamonds. He knew that there was still more work to be done. They needed to find Big Ice and shut down his entire operation. He called Mrs. Davis and asked her to look after Lily while he went to get a warrant to search Mr. Jolly's apartment and the storage freezer where he kept his ice cream supplies. He suspected that there were more diamonds hidden there, and he needed to find them to build a strong case against Big Ice. A few hours later, Detective Riley returned with a team of officers and a search warrant. They carefully searched Mr. Jolly's small apartment, finding nothing of significance. But when they opened the storage freezer, they hit the jackpot. Hidden among the bags of ice and the containers of ice cream were dozens of small, wrapped packages, just like the ones they had found in the ice cream cart. Detective Riley carefully opened one of the packages. Inside, nestled in cotton wool, was another sparkling diamond. The storage freezer was a treasure trove of stolen gems. It was clear that Mr. Jolly had been running a sophisticated smuggling operation for months, using his ice cream business as a front. And now, thanks to Lily and her scoop of bubblegum blue ice cream, his criminal enterprise had come to an end. With Mr. Jolly in custody and the diamonds recovered, Detective Riley turned his attention to the bigger fish, Big Ice. He knew that Big Ice wouldn't let Mr. Jolly's arrest go unanswered. He would likely try to retaliate, to protect his criminal empire. Detective Riley gathered his team and planned a raid on Big Ice's headquarters, a rundown warehouse on the outskirts of the city, the same warehouse where Mr. Jolly had first met with Big Ice. He knew that it would be a dangerous operation, but he was determined to bring Big Ice to justice. Meanwhile, back at Mrs. Davis's jewelry store, Lily was feeling a mix of emotions. She was proud of herself for helping to solve the mystery, but she was also worried about what would happen next. She knew that Big Ice was a dangerous man, and she feared that he might try to hurt her or her family. Mrs. Davis, sensing Lily's anxiety, put her arm around her. "Don't worry, sweetie," she said reassuringly. "Detective Riley will take care of everything. Big Ice won't get away with anything." To distract Lily, Mrs. Davis showed her some of her most prized possessions, a beautiful diamond necklace, a sparkling ruby ring, and a rare emerald bracelet. Lily was mesmerized by the glittering jewels, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something bad was about to happen. Suddenly, the door to the jewelry store burst open, and a group of armed men stormed inside. They were wearing dark suits and sunglasses, and they looked menacing. "Where's the girl?" one of the men shouted. "Where's the girl who found the diamond?" Lily gasped and hid behind Mrs. Davis, her heart pounding in her chest. Big Ice had found them. And he was ready for revenge. The peaceful, happy town of Sunnyvale was about to become a battleground. The stakes were higher than ever. This wasn't just about stolen diamonds anymore. This was about protecting the innocent and bringing a dangerous criminal to justice. And Lily was right in the middle of it. Detective Riley, who was already on his way to Mrs. Davis's store after hearing about the men he apprehended earlier, arrived just as the armed men were threatening Mrs. Davis. He burst through the door, his gun drawn. "Police! Drop your weapons," he shouted. The men, startled by Detective Riley's sudden appearance, hesitated for a moment. But then, they opened fire. A fierce gun battle erupted in the jewelry store, the sound of gunfire echoing through the streets of Sunnyvale. Mrs. Davis quickly pulled Lily behind the counter, shielding her from the bullets. Lily was terrified, but she knew she had to stay calm. She had to trust that Detective Riley would protect them. The gun battle raged on for several minutes. Detective Riley, though outnumbered, fought bravely, taking down several of the armed men. Finally, with the help of backup officers who arrived on the scene, he managed to subdue the remaining attackers. The jewelry store was a mess, with shattered glass and bullet holes everywhere. But thankfully, no one was seriously injured. Detective Riley rushed to Lily and Mrs. Davis, making sure they were okay. "Are you all right?" he asked, his voice filled with concern. "We're fine," Mrs. Davis said, hugging Lily tightly. "Thank goodness you arrived when you did." Detective Riley turned to Lily. "You were very brave, Lily," he said, smiling reassuringly. "You helped us catch some very dangerous criminals." As the police officers led the arrested men away, Detective Riley knew that the fight was far from over. Big Ice was still out there, and he would stop at nothing to protect his criminal empire. But Detective Riley was determined to bring him to justice, no matter what the cost. He knew that the safety of Sunnyvale, and the safety of Lily and her family, depended on it. This was a battle he couldn't afford to lose. The raid on Big Ice's warehouse was more important than ever. The showdown was coming. The raid on Big Ice's warehouse was swift and decisive. Detective Riley, leading a team of heavily armed officers, stormed the building, catching Big Ice and his remaining henchmen by surprise. A brief but intense firefight ensued, but the police quickly gained the upper hand. Big Ice, realizing that he was outnumbered and outgunned, surrendered. As Big Ice was being led away in handcuffs, he glared at Detective Riley. "You haven't seen the last of me, Riley," he snarled. "I'll be back." Detective Riley simply smiled. "I wouldn't count on it, Coldwater. Your little ice age is over." Inside the warehouse, the police discovered a vast array of stolen goods, including mountains of diamonds, stacks of cash, and a collection of illegal weapons. It was clear that Big Ice had been running a massive criminal operation for years, preying on the innocent citizens of Sunnyvale and beyond. With Big Ice in custody and his criminal enterprise dismantled, Detective Riley returned to Mrs. Davis's jewelry store, where Lily and her parents were waiting anxiously. "It's over," Detective Riley announced, his face beaming with relief. "We got him. Big Ice is in custody." Lily and her parents cheered, their faces lighting up with joy. The nightmare was finally over. They were safe. "You were a big help, Lily," Detective Riley said, kneeling down to her level. "You're a true hero. Thanks to you, we were able to shut down a very dangerous criminal operation." Lily smiled proudly. "I just wanted to help," she said. "I didn't want anyone else to get hurt." Mr. and Mrs. Peterson hugged Lily tightly, their hearts filled with gratitude. They were so proud of their daughter's bravery and her determination to do the right thing. The small town of Sunnyvale was safe again, thanks to a little girl, a scoop of bubblegum blue ice cream, and a very determined detective. The summer that started with a sweet treat had turned into an unforgettable adventure. In the days that followed, Sunnyvale slowly returned to normal. The bullet holes in Mrs. Davis's jewelry store were repaired, and the stolen diamonds were returned to their rightful owners. Mr. Jolly's ice cream cart remained parked behind the bakery, a silent reminder of the summer that everything changed. The town celebrated Lily as a hero. The local newspaper ran a front-page story about her bravery and her quick thinking, hailing her as the Diamond Detective. She received letters and cards from people all over the city, thanking her for her courage and her dedication to justice. The mayor of Sunnyvale even presented Lily with a special award, a lifetime supply of ice cream from the new ice cream parlor that was opening on Main Street. Lily was thrilled. She couldn't wait to try all the different flavors, especially the bubblegum blue. But the best reward of all was the feeling that she had made a difference. She had helped to protect her community and to bring a dangerous criminal to justice. She had learned that even the smallest person can make a big impact, and that even the most ordinary day can turn into an extraordinary adventure. A few weeks later, Detective Riley stopped by Mrs. Davis's jewelry store to visit Lily. He had a special surprise for her. "Lily," he said, smiling, "I have something for you. It's not a diamond, but I think you'll like it." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, silver badge. It was a junior detective badge, just like the ones that real detectives wore. "This is for you," Detective Riley said, pinning the badge on Lily's shirt. "You earned it. You're a true detective, Lily. And I'm proud to have you on my team." Lily beamed with pride. She carefully touched the badge, feeling the cool metal against her skin. She knew that she would never forget her adventure, the summer she found a diamond in her ice cream and helped to bring a criminal to justice. It was a summer she would treasure forever. And it all started with a scoop of bubblegum blue ice cream. As the excitement died down, Lily reflected on everything that had happened. It had all started with a simple desire for ice cream on a hot summer day. She never could have imagined that her craving for bubblegum blue would lead to a thrilling adventure, a dangerous criminal investigation, and a lifetime of memories. She had learned a lot about herself, about her community, and about the importance of doing the right thing, even when it was difficult. She had learned that even though the world could be a scary place, there were always good people willing to stand up for what was right. She had learned that even the smallest person could make a big difference. She had also learned that sometimes, the most unexpected discoveries can lead to the most amazing adventures. And she had learned that bubblegum blue ice cream, while delicious, could sometimes contain hidden surprises. She visited Mr. Jolly in jail. She felt a pang of sadness seeing him there, looking so dejected. He apologized to Lily, telling her he never wanted to put her in harm's way. He explained that he only got involved with Big Ice because he was desperate, but he knew that what he had done was wrong. Lily, in her heart, forgave him. She understood that people make mistakes, and that sometimes, they need a second chance. She also learned that honesty and courage are always the best policy. If she hadn't told her parents about the gem she found in her ice cream, the diamond smuggling operation might have continued for much longer. Her willingness to speak up and to help Detective Riley had made all the difference. Lily knew that she would never forget this summer. It was a summer of adventure, of danger, and of discovery. It was a summer that changed her life forever. And it all started with a bite of bubblegum blue ice cream. A truly extraordinary flavor and an even more extraordinary series of events. Years later, Lily was a grown woman, a successful lawyer who dedicated her life to fighting for justice. She never forgot the lessons she learned that summer in Sunnyvale, the summer she found a diamond in her ice cream. She often thought about Mr. Jolly, hoping that he had found a way to turn his life around. She had heard that he had been released from prison and was working at a local bakery, baking delicious treats for the community. She smiled, knowing that everyone deserves a second chance. She also stayed in touch with Detective Riley, who had become a lifelong friend. They often reminisced about their adventure, laughing about the crazy events that had unfolded. And of course, she never forgot Mrs. Davis, the kind jeweler who had helped her solve the mystery. Mrs. Davis had passed away a few years earlier, but Lily always remembered her with fondness and gratitude. One day, Lily received a letter from the Sunnyvale Historical Society. They were planning an exhibit about the town's most memorable moments, and they wanted to include a display about Lily's diamond adventure. Lily was honored. She agreed to donate her junior detective badge and her drawing of Mr. Jolly's ice cream cart to the exhibit. She also wrote a short essay about her experience, sharing her thoughts and feelings about that unforgettable summer. The exhibit was a huge success. People from all over the world came to Sunnyvale to learn about the town's history and to see Lily's artifacts. Lily was proud to be a part of Sunnyvale's story, a story of courage, of community, and of the power of one small girl to make a big difference. As she stood in front of the exhibit, looking at her junior detective badge and her drawing, she smiled. She knew that her adventure had inspired others to do good, to stand up for what was right, and to never give up hope. And that, she thought, was the greatest reward of all. It all started with a scoop of bubblegum blue ice cream, a truly magical flavor that changed her life forever. And that was a story worth telling. The new ice cream parlor on Main Street, Lily's Scoops of Justice, was a Sunnyvale institution. It wasn't just an ice cream parlor, it was a symbol of hope, of courage, and of the power of one small girl to make a big difference. The parlor was decorated with pictures of Lily, her junior detective badge, and her drawing of Mr. Jolly's ice cream cart. The menu featured all sorts of delicious flavors, but the most popular was, of course, the bubblegum blue. One sunny afternoon, Lily, now a successful lawyer, returned to Sunnyvale for a visit. She brought her own family with her, her husband, David, and her 2 children, a bright-eyed girl named Daisy and a mischievous boy named Sam. They walked down Main Street, hand in hand, towards Lily's Scoops of Justice. Lily smiled, feeling a wave of nostalgia wash over her. Sunnyvale was still the same small, friendly town she had always known and loved. They entered the ice cream parlor, and the aroma of waffle cones and sweet treats filled the air. Daisy and Sam's eyes widened with delight. They raced towards the counter, eager to choose their flavors. Lily and David ordered their ice cream and found a table near the window. They watched as Daisy and Sam devoured their cones, their faces smeared with ice cream. Lily looked at her family, her heart